Welcome back to the Bazaar. I'm Inko, and today's gonna be a weird one. Today, I'm gonna be showing off the final board states for my entire grind to Legend with Stelle, or to top Legend rather. I peaked at 16 or 17, starting with this game where I went 9 wins and got to 234. And boy, do I miss those days. I got high enough that having one horrifically bad game that crashed out at 5 wins set me back 5-10 win runs worth of MMR and ranking. So that was the point where I was like, you know what? I have content to create. I don't want to keep grinding this. Maybe I'll do race for Legend number 1 at the start next season, but the grind feels indefinite and daunting at this phase in the month, and I'm not really down for it. But there were a lot of games, a lot of interesting stuff happening, and I want to show off the things I did that led me to the conclusions I voiced yesterday in my Stelle guide. And also give some evidence for the stuff I'm saying. So getting us started with the very first video, I don't really believe in Hang Glider or Skyliner that much in the super late game. Hopping back a little bit, this was a day 14 loss to a raid boss pig. So getting back to the final state of the board, it really just comes down to not being that fast, right? I'm waiting 4 seconds for Hang Glider to go off, then it'll have my whole board going up and down, hasting nonstop with the shiny lights, dealing a ton of damage, a ton of burn. This goes off at about 6 or 7 seconds. We can go back and see how it actually plays in this final fight. Although I'll have all of this muted because for a lot of my gameplay, I was listening to stuff on the side. You can see it deals an absolute shitload of damage, but not enough to get in under or through raid boss pigs, and it just isn't able to close the distance here at the end. Because it's day 14, this is really not the sort of thing that's ever going to be good enough on day 14. It was very strong for phases, but I needed a better early game for that run to close it out. Next up, we have another 9-win run, and you can tell I was frustrated because I clicked through the screen after this so quickly that I'm not even able to see the whole board. But this is the pill buggy exodia I've talked about. Flare gun to speed things up even more than Hangar normally does. Low roller for full board haste, charging a pill buggy, and it hits like a truck. You know what else does? This Crook Pigs board. And this is just dead on day 13 with a relatively rough early game. And the reason I was so frustrated is because I have eject. This is a fight where I had a straight coin flip to win, and it just eats the pill buggy instead of the low roller, which is super unfortunate to say. And looking back at this, it looks like my opponent probably had good crit RNG to kill me in that time frame. But this is a very strong build. Hopping back a day previously to show off the pill buggy build for anyone who hasn't seen it before. This is what the pill buggy build does. Essentially, damage multipliers are super powerful on pill buggy because it's going to crit for 4x its value because it doubles the shield and then doubles the shield as damage. And you can see with flare gun and Hangar, the low roller so fast, the rivet gun so fast, it actually goes off once for 3k almost instantly, and then shortly thereafter for another about 8k actually, which is good, especially with the Hangar for disruption, but not good enough to go the distance here. This is exactly the sort of run that contributed heavily towards me saying I don't think pill buggies nearly as consistent as Little Monk's Guide led me to believe it would be initially. It's good, but this is kind of the exact board where pill buggy works, and even then there's plenty of shit that it can lose to. I didn't just get killed by a crazy thing that no one's ever seen before. The thing that closes out this run is a day 13 Crook Pig. No one's out here saying that's the king of the meta. Although maybe they should be. Dog's fucking busted. Has anyone else noticed that? Alright, maybe I was clicking through because I was in the zone and didn't feel like looking at the reward screen, because I instantly click out of this game, and this is a perfect victory. There's no frustration here. This was apparently a very smooth run, and this is one of the runabout rewards I was talking about, where you don't need the perfect launch tower runabout build. A hang glider is perfectly good at enabling your runabout to immediately go nuclear, although you do need something to fly the hang glider, otherwise you only get down to 2 seconds. We're using an ornithopter here, and the reason you arrange it like this is because ornithopter lowers the cooldown of the hang glider effectively from 5 to 4, getting you online a little bit faster. We don't have a great enchant for the runabout or anything, but we do have a lantern for 60% crit, closer to 100 really, and the rest of our board's just a little bit of haste so that after this goes off, we'll be immune to slow for 2 seconds, and a little bit of scaling. Nothing special, just a really smooth game that went into Runabout Hang Glider, and that was more than enough. At the start of the climb, I just wasn't interested in looking at the end screens apparently. So this is actually a 10-win run. My opponent's doing pill buggy things, but this is not how you pill buggy. A lot of these cards are pill buggy-esque. There's also a random mag shield taking up space that should be something else. My build is a Weather Machine Steam Host sort of build. I have Ornithopter plus Hangar for a very, very fast Weather Machine. I have Thick Hide, making this build truly disgusting. A heavy Flashbang that's honestly not even that important at this point with how often the Weather Machine's going off. And a retooled Fiery Steam Hose. So you can see the scaling gets out of hand. And at this point in the run, I actually spent a while being kind of frustrated having the Ornithopter, because every time Thick Hide is buffing, or rather speeding up the Ornithopter, it's essentially wasted. Same thing with the Flashbang after it goes off the first time, but it's just not a big enough problem to matter, because it's so much disruption and so much burn. Apparently, I just really didn't want to watch my endgame recap, so I'm doing it on the final fight again. We have another Hangar build. I was starting to catch on that this item might be kind of busted. We have an incredibly high crit scaling here, with every time you haste gain 2% crit, every time you use a vehicle gain 6%. We have a low roller down to a 2.5 second cooldown with the flare gun and the Hangar, charging a diamond rivet gun, charging a fiery pressure heater with a torch. Obviously, this is just worse than having the fiery torch. That does suck a little bit. But this is from a point in time where I was running a different build in the mid game, and fiery on this was actually the best enchant I could have taken. I recently saw a discussion in my Discord about how to arrange a very similar board where someone had a lighter instead of a flare gun, and other people had suggested that they should run the lighter next to the pressure heater. Do not do that. You want to charge the pressure heater way faster with the rivet gun. Burning for moderately more with the scaled burn on this is not nearly as important as charging this thing like 1.5 seconds every time you use the low roller. That's incredibly important, way more important than having a second scaling target, is scaling just 2 to 3 times as fast by my guesstimate. Also, very notable, anytime you have a build like this, the defenses suck. Fire Shield is an incredible skill. It basically wins any burn mirror. It's a ton of extra survivability regardless of the matchup. But yeah, this is something I built towards very frequently in the climb. For a build like this, when you stop on the recap screen, this is a nonsense build. I have Lightning Rod and Snowstorm. I have an Ornithopter and Ice Relic rivet gunning a Weather Machine. And the Weather Machine is radiant, so it cannot freeze itself. It will not be stopping. On top of all that, I have Coolant Leak, Gorgon Skill, and Eject. So when someone makes the terrible mistake of killing me, I freeze their whole board, throw the Weather Machine away, and just finish killing them with the Lightning Rod. I'm actually willing to go back a little bit and watch that last fight. This sounds absolutely ridiculous. Well, that's a sad final fight, isn't it? He's just missing pieces from his board and trying to scale Caltrops. And honestly, 300 damage Caltrops would kill a lot of builds, but not this one. It almost killed this one. We needed the eject. I was talking shit before I saw that number was 300 thanks to cash deposits. What a horrifying build. And finally, we have the premier meta build, what I view as the strongest, most consistent build in the game right now. It is Runabout Launch Tower. It is always at least 8 of the same item slots: Launch Tower, Runabout, Ornithopter, and Flysicle. You really want a headset, though it's not necessary, and then the last item slot is flexible. And in this case, the way it works is you start of combat, fly your 3 vehicles. They all haste. So that gets you down to -3 on the Runabout, plus -1 from Ornithopter. That's 7 - 4 is a 3-second cooldown. With haste, this will go off 1.5 seconds in combat. However, slightly earlier than that, actually, because this being a 2-second cooldown with haste, 1 second in, will fly the Launch Tower, which is going to get it down to 2 seconds with haste, effectively a 1-speed item. And then shortly thereafter, the Fly Cycle will fly something, doesn't matter what, getting us down to a 1-second cooldown without haste. This is pretty much start of combat, 1-second Runabout. And for damage scaling, because 500 is quite a lot for something that isn't Obsidian, we have big guns and expert pilot, addition to some other skills. And mixed messages is no joke with these sorts of builds. It basically starts off at 1 second. So whenever I activate these 2 other vehicles, it just uses this the first 3 times in combat. It is truly disgusting. I don't know if you've seen it in action, so I'll show it the first time through. This guy's build is horrifying. He has a double adrenal injector, rapid injection system with Barb Spike, Warden, and Icy on one of them. Not that he actually gets to play the game in any capacity whatsoever, because start of combat, Runabout over and over and over again. When I say that Stelle has crazy late game damage scaling and is still favored on days 13 and 14, I fucking mean it. She is a menace right now. Evidently, I just don't like looking at the final recap screen if I'm not recording a video. So once again, we're getting at the end. This is a 10-win flawless victory. You can see why. I'm running 1 fiery item, and it's not normally a fiery item with a dragon heart. So what my board does is anytime I use a tool, I burn. And this is a tool, and this is a tool, and this is a tool, and that triggers Dragonheart. And anytime I use a flying item, and this flies and that flies, and this is charging a tool. So the actual effect of this in fight is that 1 5-burn fly cycle that is all my damage, or fly cycle rather, bicycle, yeah, bicycle, got in my head there. But you can see that it doesn't do anything initially, and it very, very rapidly scales, because if you have a dragon heart and only one burning item, this happens. And yeah, it's not stupidly fast. You can do stronger things, but that's still a 2000 burn item under nearly permanent haste. So as it goes on, it gets truly out of hand. I just don't show end screens whatsoever, do I? In this next game, we are doing something that I've only done a couple of times, which is Hangar plus flying weapons. Almost always you end up not getting Hangar aboard the same build as a hang glider or a runabout, but there's actually a lot of overlap there to do very strong things. It still cripples your opponent's build. It still accelerates you. So Ornithopter here is a 1 second activation, bringing this down to 1.5 seconds. Everything haste. This slams our stuff back down on the board, kills the opponent very, very quickly, while severely disrupting them. We also are doing the thing I so often do with eject for the 50% chance to save my life. And we have a completely useless double crit damage skill. Womp womp. Something that's going to be a trend in this video is when I get a perfect victory, I click straight through the end screen to the next one. So you see the 864 damage Obsidian hang glider with a shiny marshalling light, right? It's going to go off very quickly at 2.5 seconds in, because at 2 seconds it goes down to a 3-second cooldown with haste from headset, and then they fucking die. Because I also have Diamond Expert Pilot. This is, like, it's not instantaneously lethal, but it is 2.5 seconds later lethal. It's incredibly strong. That was disgusting. Once again, we have another run trying out the Hangar stuff. As you can tell by the fact that I'm on a build without 9 wins, it's not going to go well in this fight. Ended up being an 8-win run where I had basically a Hangar with, like, nothing else, right? I've got big guns. I went to a vendor that had a nothing for me, and I was like, shit, I guess I buy big guns and try to pivot. If you're wondering why the hell I have that skill, it's because Adiro was trolling. They gave me literally 6 items that did nothing for the build. And what's left is like a pretty damn fast build in terms of dealing burn at reasonable values, but not enough to kill somebody before Runic Blade goes off after Hangar, which is very, very slow, very weak amounts of burn. You have to have something more powerful than this for your Hangar build. This is just nowhere near enough. And I would say that as this goes on, I start doing Hangar builds less and less and less. I start gravitating harder and harder away from any sort of ball blasting build, because I keep finding they just aren't, like, I'm dead on day 12 in this run. They just aren't doing that well in the early game. They're really struggling in the mid game unless they find exactly Hangar. And even when they find Hangar, I start finding that it's not enough for them to close out the games. I think Hangar is very, very broken, but the path to Hangar is just not consistent enough. At least not in my experience. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. What's that? Another perfect victory, another instantaneous click, and I can't show the endgame recap? Of course it is. Anyway, we have 2 Obsidian items and a Juggler. So, the rest of the run brought, I'm sorry, did I say 2? I meant 3. I've got the Obsidian headset too, because at this point we're just trolling with the number of Obsidian enchants we've been given for no reason. One of these is my level 10, one of these is my temple, and one of them was just Ayla being like, hey, you want to try out Dagger Wing? And frankly, it still wasn't that good. Like, I didn't need this at all. It's not a big deal. Very much this run would have gone pretty much identically without the Dagger Wing, because we had other equally good options for most of the run. But it wasn't like a terrible thing to be doing. It's just not as good as the alternatives. And to show off the way it plays very briefly, as we load in, you can see it's not that fast, right? Like, it takes 4 seconds to go off, and yeah, it kills the shit out of a man at 4 seconds. Well, 6 because of pace, but it's just the builds that take 4 seconds to go off are not the things defining the meta ever. It's good, it's rock solid even, but no Ornithopter to speed it up, no start of combat haste, nothing crazy, just good old solid beating people to death and going off way too fast because of Juggler. The next run is a very similar story. We found an early runabout, made it Obsidian. Our best way to enable it was only a hang glider, but we managed to make it a little bit faster with the Ornithopter. We have the crit chance. We have some very good damage skills down here. We have, this is one of those situations where, like, you don't have a good way to fill out your board. Just throw in a random flashbang. If the game is going long enough for it to matter, you'll be glad to have it. And we just cruise through to 11 victories on, good God, is that a big number? Because it's critting, right? That's 2,000 DPS, basically. To show it off, just like hang glider, nothing fancy. This is not start of combat, it's just fast. This is still absolutely brutal. And it's not till like day 12 or 13 that I'm really feeling bad about taking 4 seconds to go off when going off looks like that. Here I am cracking into the top 50 for the first time, and this is almost a normal hang glider setup. I say almost because usually I'm never fly toggling with a hang glider because I want the ornithopter on a hang glider, because if I don't do that, it's going off later. And I need the ornithopter there, so I can't take anything out of flight, otherwise I'd be down to 2 seconds here. However, because of my duped ornithopter, I have a free card slot, and that's going to this nonsense. I have a shiny ice bomb with diamond shatter, which is a pretty hefty amount of disruption at 4 seconds, in addition to, what is that, 90 additional damage scaling going on to my runabout, in addition to expert pilot multiplication. It's just a solid enough build. Again, you don't always get launch towers, but you can generally make something very, very fast with a hang glider or a vortex cannon, and you will very rarely see me in these final runs with vortex cannons. A lot of the time in the mid game of these runs, there are vortex cannons just to get this online quickly, but it's not something I ever stick with long term. To anyone who watched Tuesday's video, this one looks familiar. It's just runabout doing runabout things. I never found shit. I never found a vortex cannon or a hang glider or a launch tower. I just have a couple random items to fly. I'm just using ornithopter plus Karakara plus flysicle plus angle grinder. That is enough flight guaranteed with positioning at 5 seconds that we are going to go down to 1 second. We've got decently big damage. It's nothing impressive, but very frequently with diamond victories, you just have okay opponent RNG. No one's going too hard. Your build's good enough. And, you know, maybe Fiery's not the best enchant and these skills aren't the best, but it's easy to miss 100% crit from this red lantern, fully doubling the output of the build. This is easily the best item on my board right now. Well, not counting the runabout, I suppose. All of my recordings are titled based on what part of the grind they covered. This one's titled rank 50 to rank 50 Lamal, and it's 2 hours long. The grind is rough when you're trying to get to the top of the ladder. Unsurprisingly, crashing out 9 wins, I wasn't interested in going to the recap screen, so once again, we're back on a random section of the game to talk about the build. You can see what happened here, right? This used to be a ball blaster build, and it really struggled in the mid game, and I hard pivoted into a hang glider and got a non-damaging enchant with it, with no other damage skills. And, you know, against any hero other than Pygmalion, maybe we could have held on long enough with the shield, because it is genuinely a ton of damage and a ton of shield. Whole board goes up, whole board comes down. It's got lifesteal too. It's going down from a 4 to a 3 to a 2 second cooldown, at least while they have burn, which they will have for most of the fight because of this skill. And you would think that would be good enough, but like, this is not a great way to haste your whole board, to be honest with you. It's just kind of slow to start. It's not a bad build. Only getting 9 with this is kind of frustrating. It's a pretty good pivot into hang glider from a ball blaster, but it just wasn't good enough, because this is the huge issue with hang glider. You cannot trust it to get in under late game Pygmalions with the current state of money tree. You just can't. So you end up with fights like this, where you've done your absolute damnedest to pivot your ball blaster that's getting nothing into a hang glider. And while your defenses are completely insane, they can't do shit against a poison money tree. You don't have the offenses to break through, and you certainly don't have the speed to get in under. So you'll just be dead to poison with 20,000 useless shield. Womp womp. I complain, but let's be honest, Obsidian and Fiery might have both been worse for me. You can tell this board's a day 11 win because it's doing wacky things like running shiny spices, which I don't think I'd ever go for on a run that was not on like a 9-0 streak. But if you know your run's ending before day 13, because that's what happens if you're like 8-0, right? If you're 8-0, let's go with 9-0 because the math holds for that one. If you're 9-0, day 13 cannot happen. You die on 10, die on 11, that's your cheat death, die on 12, that's game over. If your run's going well enough, you can start saying things like, ultra late game never happens. And then suddenly investing in shiny spices makes some degree of sense. And if you don't have great damage scaling, quadrupling your damage is a pretty good thing to do. And considering we're dealing with a decent chunk of crit chance here and a build that with a shield enchant might actually be going long, yeah, when I got the spices with a shield enchant and a relatively low damage output, I said to myself, absolutely, we're going to go for shiny spices with this polisher. That seems like the thing to do, and it did go the distance in this case. I don't think it actually ended up mattering in game. Oh yeah, my last opponent was a very paid actor tier. They were doing shielded code with a rifle that reloaded far less often than you would like your rifle to reload. And as a crow's nest build just died before I could even use my spices. Not exactly getting through raid boss pigs with the spices like I had planned to, but it's still a sick item to have and has some niche utility. And having mentioned that this video is titled 50 to 50, you know the last build is ending bad, but the last build is genuinely, like, this is a build I would not expect to crash out on 12 with. This is a symptom of having a rough early game in this run where I couldn't get the aerial turret synergy fast enough and not having enough startup time. I don't have an ornithopter. I'm just waiting 4 seconds to go off. So I had the rough early game that necessitates a great late game, and I have no way to accelerate faster than 4 seconds, which is extremely dangerous. Even on days like 10, 11, 12, you don't want to just wait 4 seconds to play the game. Now, if my opponent said, let me do that, we're eating good. We have a shiny altimeter that goes off at 4 seconds. We trigger this thing 6 consecutive times at 4 seconds. It gets the 50 buff multiplied by 1.6. It's scaling its crit chance, which is already has a baseline at 1.6 at least for crit chance. And then I can barely tell, but this is Radiant, so it is basically immune to CC. Sure, we take 4 seconds to go off, but the build's so strong, it'll probably be fine. Oh no, my opponent has Ravenous, and I'm so worried about it. I don't even realize what's happening here with the Blaze Howl Oni Mask 3-second Obsidian Weather Glass that goes off before me. That dude's build was absolutely sick. I wish he were making guides. I want to see how to reliably do that shit. The answer is you can't, and it's why the Bazaar is awesome, is that you can unreliably make such insane builds as that. But yeah, you can't be mad when you lose to something that fucking sick. What an incredible build. I thought Ravenous was going to be the problem. You can see past me going through the replay trying to figure out what the hell happened. Continuing the trend of not showing recap screens and clicking right through them, this was a rough game to fail to go 10 on. You can see my opponent's build is absolutely cracked. And unfortunately, I can't even be like, oh, the mag shield bug got me. For those who don't know, mag shield will shield off of your opponent's items entering flight, but that's not what killed me. 16,000 would have been nowhere near enough to get through. I did a decent chunk, but what actually kills me here is just the shielded enchant on this being such a huge amount of defenses. So combine that with the bug, and they've got so much time. Any enchant other than shield, I body this man. But with the shielded enchant, shiny paper airplane, headset, Blaze Howl, fiery balloon engine, it's just an insane engine. Absolutely sick balloon engine build. Cannot really expect to do much better than it. It's his only vehicle. Oh, it's even better than I thought. He has startup sequence for startup combat haste. It takes him 1 second to start instead of 2. It's actually incredible. And then when he's burning, he's charging this to get everything else to toggle for more burn and more shield. It's a really genuinely incredible build from the opponent. You can't reliably hit stuff this good. Like the fiery enchant and the Blaze Howl Warden is kind of what you need to see for this to go the distance. And a mag shield with shielded enchant is a completely different card than mag shield without shielded enchant. But yeah, it's genuinely a sick build from both of us. And I'm sad to not go 10 with a build as good as my own, but I'm happy to lose to something like that. Another run without a recap screen. Who would have foreseen it? And another run with a disgusting runabout build. This is a board where rather than getting the second vehicle that I so desperately want, instead we just have the 2 vehicles. This is very, very rare for me. We only have 2 seconds off, so it's a 5-second startup time. However, we have enough wings on this runabout and enough CDR on flying items and enough CDR with shield up that we actually don't need the full 5 flying items plus ornithopter or 6 flying items we normally would. So instead what's happening here is the shiny flysicle that I have had to create in this run. It's going to fly 2 items, going to get us down to -4, and then CDR and haste take us the rest of the way. That's the plan. Eventually this will go off a second time, but ideally the game doesn't run that long. The real thing that's saving us here is this altimeter, which is going to double use this, and the deadly enchant here in conjunction with expert pilot. We just have a lot of CDR making up for our god-awful flight situation, combined with great crit chance, 100% as good as you can be, and an altimeter to double use it, and to show it off in combat, because this on the surface just doesn't look like a build that works. It's so much CDR from skills while shielded in conjunction with the feathers and the wings over the course of the run. Despite the fact that it just looks deeply, deeply wrong, it works. It's totally fine. Is it the fastest thing you ever seen? No. It got froze by our opponent's icy altimeter, and it's got a base damage of 234. But it did deal a shitload of shield and get us there in the end. Also, what is my opponent doing? What was that? That man is going to take that paper airplane to the Swallowtail Bank, apparently, and cash in his 8-win crash out, I guess. What a sick build. I'm so sad that it did nothing. I had to go back and watch it. It's actually just doing like 364 damage a second. Oh, yeah, because of internal cooldown. It can't be charged more than once a second. Right, yeah, that's part of why Swallowtail will never be that impressive. It's never actually that fast unless you lower its cooldown with Hangar. Yeah. So this is a run where I didn't go to the end, but I did take a very funny screenshot of my opponent's shiny library trying its absolute damnedest to shut down this runabout build and utterly failing to do it. This is one of the highest high rolls I had in the entire grind. So popping back to before the fight, you can actually see this deals 564 damage. It's right-handed, left-handed, expert piloted, noisy cricketed. All right, the cricket's actually not that noisy, never mind. But that's still a lot of base damage, multiplying expert pilot against Obsidian. It's got good enough crit chance. This poison enchant is just in case I found a use for it later from my temple enchant. But yeah, this is an insane amount of damage with 80% crit chance because that's a diamond lantern. So we're pretty close with Lion Talismans to 100%. We have these standard 3 vehicles and haste. So start of combat, it goes off, everything gets hasted. This one does take like, I think 1.5, 2 seconds because it's a low tier Ornithopter, but we still get to 1 second very immediately, hit him the first time at about 2 seconds with the haste. And where it gets truly disgusting is because I'm going off faster than my opponent with the start of combat haste, this thing goes down to 1 second immediately. And then it shield bashes them 8 fucking times. Which, yeah, if you're wondering, before I went to the temple, this run had literally no money because I used all of my gold on a Grandmaster to get that. I bought the gold portion at a Nufu and upgraded it to diamonds. And this, if any build, I immediately screenshotted the shiny library as soon as combat started. If any build were going to try to stop this, it would be shiny library. And it's just absolutely nowhere near enough. Like, it doesn't matter what my cooldown is because it's 3-shotting the guy and he's putting 8 seconds of charge into it. And it's finally happened. This is a run where I've like known this is a thing you could do that was good for a while and just never actually hit it. You don't have to go into Launch Tower. You can build Hangar with Runabout. And broadly, this is the exact same sort of board that you would expect to see if you were running Launch Tower. The issue with it is that none of your shit starts off in flight, which is a huge problem. But because it disrupts your opponent, that's kind of okay for us. Additionally, you do need less flight, 1.5 seconds less of it. So if you can get like half a second of CDR into your runabout, then 1.5 here, you only need 4 flying items. To that end, we have the Ornithopter, which you can't see here, but I've made shiny. And I've got this, so that's 3 of the 4 needed immediately. We still have to wait for a little bit, thus we have the rivet gun going into the bicycle, or the flycycle rather. And the thing that really makes this build incredibly strong, despite the enchants that aren't on my thing here, I don't have great weapon skills, I don't have great enchants. I do have 50% crit chance from this, I have expert pilot at diamond, and most importantly, it turns out Juggler is completely busted with a diamond rivet gun and a runabout. It's a notable bit of synergy where every time the runabout activates, it activates the rivet gun, which activates the runabout, so it's just infinite. And I do want to show that in action because it's a bit of insane synergy, and the Juggler's really helping the rivet gun to actually get the rest of the board in flight fast enough. So you can see that even though it's not actually good damage, it is just 240 with 50% crit chance on internal, which is more than sufficient, especially with an Admiral's badge to make us immune to slow and freeze and to cripple our opponent's board. You don't need Juggler and Admiral's badge to make this sort of thing work, but it certainly didn't hurt. And while it took a while to find one, I'm not talking about a game where I showed the recap screen, but a game where I played Vortex Cannon to the finish line. This is still only day 11. I'm absolutely trying to phase it out in this run, but it's a run where a lot's going right. We've got mixed messages at Diamond, which does a ton of work. After Vortex Cannon goes off, these are going to go off. This is helping me with the Shiny Clamor to charge Vortex Cannon and enable my build a little bit faster. Shiny Clamor is some tech I've mentioned that's very, very strong. The Opheliac is also giving me a tiny bit of charge. And Flashbang, because the game is going to be moderately slow, is relevant to the build currently. Also enough haste to make me immune to slow after Vortex Cannon goes off until hopefully I can win the fight. And a very early Diamond Runabout, but unfortunately the Shield Enchant is a bit of a feels bad with Runabout. You really want some sort of offensive enchantment, because when you're starting so quickly, you have a very real chance of getting in under even like 8k health money tree pigs. There are definitely runs I've shown that did that, but when you have a shield enchant, it's pretty much just not in the cards. However, this is the sort of build that can become truly deranged in the late game if you can hit launch tower, because all of your smalls are just double using this when they go off. Sadly, it doesn't really work here. There's a 50% chance they go into vortex cannon and they just speed you up at the start. But there's a lot of pieces here that never made it to the truly broken nightmare state they could have gotten to if the run had gone a little bit longer. Oh, did I mention the truly deranged nightmare state that these builds can reach if they go on long enough? What day was this? Jesus Christ. This is day 13. And on day 13, we have big guns and juggler. And at start of combat, this shit pops off, right? The shiny on Ornithopter is entirely because it goes off faster than the Flysicle. We didn't need additional flight, and it's triggering juggler. What else do we need? So yeah, this is the standard launch tower immediately down to 1 second setup. We have a heavy red lantern here to slow our opponents, a net launcher to slow our opponents, which we're doing 1 second into the fight. We have 650 pretty good crit chance. I'd guesstimate it to be around 50 to 60%. 35 burn, multicasting with juggler. This is just instantaneous death. We can go demonstrate it on the previous fight. Yeah, that's Stelle doing some sort of ball blaster thing where they found a workshop, and look how cool Knife Tricks is gonna be. They've got big ego. Just give them a second to wind up. Why aren't you giving them a second? No, this is bullying. Yeah, this is why I say Runabout's the most consistent, most powerful thing you can possibly do. That dude's build was sick. It's a shame we didn't get to play the game. What's that, you say? An Obsidian Runabout on a diamond victory screen with a launch tower set up? You don't say. The very next game is not much more fair. We have aerial assault, glass cannon, altimeter. So yes, we do have to wait 3 seconds to go off. 3 seconds in, it lowers the cooldown by 1 from 4 to 3. And then this cooldown goes under what it's charged to, so it triggers twice. The altimeter goes off as well at 4 seconds, so it'll go off right after the next use, I guess. So at 3 seconds, we use it. At 4 seconds, we use it. Then we use it again with the altimeter. And it's going to end up being a bit weirder than that, because aerial assault is every time something flies, charge a weapon. So for each item on my board, there is a 50% chance that it uses this again, or that it starts pushing towards scaling it for what little that's worth. But yeah, this is just very, very fast with aerial assault altimeter. It's not start of combat, but this is going a long way to make up for the slight delay. And the glass cannon is such an insane skill in Stelle. I take this all the time in Stelle. It's not like me memeing or anything. Stelle's the fastest character, and it's never truly symmetrical, right? You don't know your opponents are playing weapon builds. So glass cannon, 1, has like a well over 50% chance of just not affecting your opponent. And 2, if you're playing with the aim of being the fastest possible character, which Stelle can do, it's just going to affect you more than your opponent, even if they're also a weapon build. It is the best damage scaling you can get, and as the fastest character, I don't need to worry about the downside. So yeah, this is really, really disgusting. It's probably the strongest non-launch tower build I'm going to be showing today. And here is, I believe, the peak of my climb, a completely unspectacular runabout build. We've got Diamond Ornithopter getting us down to a 2-second start speed. We have Expert Pilot, Flashy Pilot, Shiny Altimeter. So 2 seconds in, the whole board takes flight. We activate this, then we activate it 2 more times. We're scaling our crit chance the whole time. We're scaling the damage here. If you don't know, this is just 50%, or maybe it's 30% crit chance to your other items. So it's going to be affecting the runabout positively alongside this. This is a heavy, so it's going to be slowing our opponents. It's a good bit of disruption, a huge amount of damage, solid enough burst. Not enough for like day 14, definitely probably ended this on 12 or 13. Yeah, ended on 13 as I thought. With this wonderful graphical bug against a pig where I can't even tell how much of a raid boss he was. And this is a diamond victory with the balloon engine into runabout pivot that I was talking about. We haven't quite sorted out the runabout build here. We've got an expert pilot, that's really cool. The runabout's diamond already. We have an altimeter and an ornithopter and enough flight and the flare gun that we just end up dumping a ton of burn into our opponent while turning it online at about 3 or 4 seconds. But the problem with talking about this build too much is that when the combat starts, I just hard crash out of the run. And once I reset my computer, you can see that at rank 17, going 10 wins gets you 1 whole rank. Apparently I did peak at 16. I remembered it correctly. And as peaking at 16 might inform you, the next run didn't fucking go well. If you're looking at this wondering what the hell are we playing right now, we're playing the end of a desperate run. This is a run where I was forced into an early aerial turret, but never given the support to do anything with it. Never given like a gun sight or a joystick, anything that buffs the damage, anything that accelerates it. So we were leaving the early game like 4-4, something like that, which is really bad for Stelle. We never found Runabout, never found Launch Tower. We actually got this hang glider. Let me show you how dire this was. On day 9 is when I got this hang glider. I had a ticket. You can't get a hang glider inside the temple. I was 5-3, dead on my next death with a maximum of 2 losses left on temple day. And I looked at my build and I said, even if I get an Obsidian enchant on the aerial turret, I don't think I'm winning on day 9. I'm certainly not winning on day 10. I have to find the pieces to pivot. I have to go look for it. And you can see how horribly jank our setup is, where eventually we found speed and our damage scaling is using Kara to put headset haste on icicles, or sorry, ice cubes for shatter procs. Like, we eventually cobbled something together here, but you can also see I'm the guy advocating to always float marshalling lights, that hang gliders are a great pivot, go Skyliner temporarily. I have 44 gold and none of those things. I was given no offboarding route from this build at any point. This was just straight up cursed. I had very strong opponents, never got what I needed to get what this build to where it should be. For 3 straight days, including abandoning the temple, I couldn't find a pivot. On this day, I did find a hang glider. And as you saw, I died with wood glue and nothing else. And the most tragic part of it all is that if I'd had anything else, we could have beaten this and tried to salvage the run, because we did get to an Obsidian hang glider. We have the diamond ornithopter, we have the hanger, but our opponent's an Oni mask tripwire build, and on his first hit crits with the cutlass, and with the slows from the heavy dive weights, it's just enough that I am 1 resolution from trying to grind higher. But having lost that fight, we crash all the way down 10 places to 26. And from here, there are a couple more 8 or 9 win games, dropping me into the low 30s, intermixed with some 10 wins. And that is the end of the climb for me. I will go ahead and show off this run because it's sick as hell. I want you to understand how powerful this run was. Not only do we have Clamra Restorative Jolt to full haste our board, not only do we have enough fly to, at 2.5 seconds, have this go infinite, which is crazy. Not only do we have a full flying board with a Dragon Heart and a Burning Runabout to scale exponentially, this was a direct downgrade from my day 8 board. Sorry, I meant to say my day 9 board. I didn't level up to 10 on time. My base enchant was Obsidian. On my day 9 board, I posted this screenshot to my Discord. It was like, I can't believe that this is downgrading my board, because it was. The restorative enchant was just a random thing I found on day 10. But like, I straight up nerfed the build for memes because the climb was over. Genuinely, it was worth holding in case like I had really bad luck and made it to day 12 after crashing out on 10 and 11. Because then if I ran into a pig, I could switch over to the exponential scaling burn build and stand a better chance. But this run, like, if we could just averaged out the RNG between this run and the previous run and, you know, call it even Stevens and not a loss of, how many ranks is that? From 26 to 25 for one 10-win run after crashing down 10 ranks with a single 5-win run. It's rough at the top of the ladder, man. My last run as of this recording, the funniest way for the climb to end. I'm trying the hanger stuff, thinking maybe Little Monk's onto it, maybe I don't know what I'm doing. I'm at day 13. I'm struggling to put it together with hanger at the end of the run. And who do I see but the man I've been advocating for? It's Runabout Jump Scare, man. I'm dead in the water. It just instantly kills me, and I do nothing to disrupt it, and I'm actually pretty close to killing it. It's very, very good burn scaling with very good crit scaling. Not far from stabilizing, but too far all the same. And that brings me probably to the end of my climb. I'm currently at rank 30. I guess someone above me fell down trying to climb. On the one hand, I want to climb higher. I want to keep trying, but I prefer to create variety content. I don't want to spend all my time doing this. In the future, if I stream, I'll absolutely compete for rank 1 some more. But right now, since I don't stream, it feels horribly inefficient as a content creator to try to do this. It takes up a ton of time. As you can tell by this one video covering how many games was that? I'm guessing it's somewhere between 20 and 30. It's a lot of Stelle to get that high. And when one 5-win struggle bus game is worth -5 10-win games, it's real hard to stay motivated without like a streaming audience to talk to about it the whole way through. Still though, I'm damn proud of getting to 16th place. Top 20 is super impressive. It's way more competitive than I thought it would be. I don't know if I showed the ranks during the climb, but at some point, I think it was rank 21. I went 10 wins and my rank did not change. I thought for sure that would not happen until the top 10. My last game, I went 10 wins and got 1 rank. It's super, super competitive at the very top of the ladder. And rank 1 is genuinely much more impressive than I thought it was when I started this climb. I was sure I'd get to top 10 before I made the guide, but here I am, giving up after top 20 and still proud of it. I hope you enjoyed seeing all those runs. I hope it gave you some insight as to how I'm building Stelle and why I came to the conclusions I did during my guide. And I suppose better late than never. If you did make it this far, you should go ahead and subscribe for more content just like this. And if you can drop a like on the video, it really does help it get more traction, help the channel grow, and I really do appreciate it. Anyways, that's all for now. I promise at some point I'll play characters that aren't Stelle. And I'll see you in the next one. Peace.